And I remember calling my manager, who's Filipino. I said, listen, this white man keeps saying that. You know what I mean? I was like, he's not saying it directly to me, but he's repeating this woman and what she's saying. I said, I don't know how I feel about that. It feels kind of disrespectful. Should I say anything to him? And he said, listen, you could do this 2 ways. He's like, you could say something to him, and these white people, you will never work again. And he was like, that's just the state of diversity at that time. And he said, or you could do a tell-all book when you get really famous and talk about it in the book. He's like, you will get your revenge on this situation.
Tell us about a moment where you wish you would have said something and you didn't. There's nothing better than this. Say what you mean. 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 Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Aida Rodriguez, and welcome to another episode of Say What You Mean, where people stop by to share those stories where they wish they would have said something and they didn't. But you are so lucky because you get to hear it first when they stop by and say it here. Every episode, I start with my own Say What You Mean, and on this one, I am going to, this is not an ex. This is somebody I briefly dated, and he propositioned me. He's a showrunner. And when I told him that I wasn't interested in him sexually, he told me that I didn't really want to make it. He was like, you don't really want to make it in this town. You came here, what you come here to be? You a church girl? You came here, whatever. He made fun of me. He mocked me. And I didn't say anything. I just was like, whatever. But what I wish I would have said was, you have wobbly thighs. And there is nothing about a wobbly thighed man that makes me ever want to take my clothes off. So if you don't get your gentle, soft, childbearing hips, she knows who he is, self out of my face, don't nag me because I don't want to be with you. I hope you heal.
Period.
Onward and forward. You heard my guest. She said, period. Our next guest is an actor, and I fell in love with her watching Ghosts because that's my show. And then we ended up having the same makeup artist, and I was like, you know her, that's my girl, I love her. And then he was like, she likes you too. And I was like, this never happens. But she was on Young Sheldon, and then she was on Candy Cane Lane, where I think those people, the little things were the funniest things in the movie. They were Chris, Red, and Danielle, and Robin, they were all so funny. And now she's here. And this is how this show goes. We have no structure.
It is
Danielle
honor. It's an honor to be here. No. I'm such a huge fan of yours. The first time I saw you was at Laugh Factory because my friend Rashida Sheeds was hosting an event, and I was like, who's that? And I got your book. I'm listening to it right now on audio, and it is everything and more. And so
I appreciate
it's an honor to be here, truly.
No, it's an honor to have you here. You're so talented. You're so funny. People, when we're stand-up comedians and people think that stand-up comedians automatically translate on screen as actors. Acting is a talent and a skill unto itself. And you are such a funny, your comedic timing is so great. You're the reason why I kept going back to Ghosts.
What?
Yeah, you were so funny. And I was like, yo, this character is hilarious.
I'm so happy. First of all, you love the show because, I think the thing is we shoot in Montreal for like 8 months out of the year. So we have no clue who is watching because the folks from Quebec, they're like, Ghost what? You know what I mean? Like, they have no clue what the show is. But every time we come back stateside, we're getting more and more fans. And so it's great to know that you're watching it, that you love it.
It's so funny. Tell me how that works. You booked that show and you're like,
gosh,
what?
First of all, I had been waiting for my series regular for many, many years. I'd been in the industry doing theater for 20 plus years.
Okay.
And I was doing theaters in it wasn't Q theater. It wasn't Broadway. It was like I was in somebody's basement getting paid in pizza. It was nuts. And I had all these side hustles. I was working at Girl Scouts of America, packing Thin Mints in somebody's basement. It was just always a basement scenario for me. But what I will say is, I had done Young Sheldon on CBS, and I heard that the show Ghost was happening, but it was in the middle of the pandemic. And so I was like, oh, we back? Because I was literally just making banana bread in my house like the rest of everybody, you know what I mean? And trying to stay safe and masking up. And I was like, oh, the entertainment industry is back. And so I got the audition. I said, oh my gosh, this is something I've been praying for because I'd always wanted to be on a quirky broadcast comedy, playing some kind of weird character. And I was like, this is exactly what I want. And I almost lost the job because I decided to do too much in the audition. And so I heard it was a 1920s Prohibition era ghost. So I was like, she needs a fur coat. She needs a hat. She needs boas and all this stuff. And the showrunners called my manager after my audition and said, hey, we want to audition her again, but can she do it without the hat? It's too much. And so I was like, damn, I almost lost this job. And so I re-auditioned and I was so nervous because, it's on Zoom in the pandemic. I'm in my kitchen and I had messed up on the last couple of lines of the scene. And they said, okay, well, we think we've seen what we need. And I said, because I think it was only because I was in my own house. I said, y'all don't got it. Y'all don't have I messed up. Y'all know I messed up. Let's take it again. I've never had that much agency in my career to say, no, let's do it again. And they said, well, you know what? Yeah, let's do it again. And having that freedom to speak up for myself then allowed me to improvise and have fun. And it then became kind of like a director session. And then when I booked it, I was on the phone with my best friend, Lanisa Renee Frederick. We were planning some content for our page, #booked. And my manager called me and said, I'm outside. I said, you're in Sherman Oaks? Because that man does not leave Santa Monica.
That's a long drive.
He was like, that man does not leave Santa Monica. He don't know nothing about the valley. And so he said, I'm outside. And he was masked up. I went out there in my little dingy apartment and he threw up this basket. I said, Frank, because we still had to do the 6 feet, thing. And I said, what is this? He said, it's champagne chocolates. I said, for what? He said, you booked it.
Ooh.
And this is the man that scouted me out of Chicago, out of Second City. And we've been with each other for, 6-7 years. And I just was bawling outside. And we had this stripper that lived above us. And she was like, girl, what's going on outside? Like, I'm telling you, this apartment was full of characters. She's like, girl, what's going on? You all right? Is somebody beating you up? I said, no, girl, it's good. I just booked a role. She's like, go off, sis. I love it. And then went right on stripping. And then so I went back inside to my friend. And my friend was like, what's going on? Why was Frank there? And I said, girl, I booked my first job. And we just bawled on Zoom because Lanisa is one of my best friends. We started in Chicago as understudies together at the Goodman Theater when no one was really checking for us or giving us a chance. And to be able to share that with her and now with her own success, it's unreal. It really does feel like a blessing.
Can I hang out with y'all?
Please come with us.
I need to go hang out with the booking crew over there.
Telling you, but it was so long.
That's great.
And when we came to LA, the thing about Los Angeles, it was no rhyme or reason because in New York, it's like you go to graduate school, you go to undergrad, you go to film school. But here, it was like I was in audition with an original cast member, a living single, and somebody that ate a spoonful of cinnamon. And I'm like, okay, well, where do I fit into this bunch?
Yeah.
And so to get a win here just felt like such a major thing. And so the show of my dreams, it really is. We're having so much fun on that show.
That show is great. It's funny. You get a history lesson. You learn so much about a bunch of different aspects of life and the world. I mean, I watched the other one, but the thing is, I watched the one from the UK, but the American one, the sensibility and the humor is just so much more my taste.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, this is like when you did the podcast on the thing. Like I watched the show, so it's really funny.
We got to get you on the show. What kind of ghost would you want to play though? That's the thing.
I don't know. I can be. Listen, Irene Cara died. I could be the ghost of Irene Cara. I could be. No disrespect. I worship that woman. So.
Yes.
But I was thinking about you because you do a lot on the internet. How important are words to you?
Everything. Words have so much power. They can change our lives for the better or for the worse. And it's so funny because before I was coming here, I was talking to my mom and she was like, I have two grandmothers, one that's alive and one that's deceased. And that was her mother. And she said, I wish your grandmother could have seen what you are now. I think she would be fully gagged by this because my grandmother was so, I mean, honestly, she's one of God's soldiers. I mean, she was like Christian. And she was Seventh Day Adventist too. And like, when I tell you, I stayed in church all weekend, Friday, lights out, no toilet paper. I mean, it's like, it was nuts. And we stayed in church all Saturday. And then my mother was Pentecostal. So I'm in church all Sunday. And, she didn't think much about theater.
Of course
not. At all. She was like, what you doing in theater to do?
Yeah.
And I think those kinds of things have kind of made me believe that maybe I can be an actor. When you hear those words in the beginning of like, oh, you think you're funny, but this is, and like those kinds of things. And so words, they do have power, but it's also how you can overcome what people say about you, or embrace what they say about you. And so, I think that's my definition on that.
I think that might be one of the places where we connect. I was a Pathfinder. I was a Seventh Day Adventist kid.
You get it.
My mother was a Pentecostal, and my grandmother was Seventh Day Adventist.
Yes.
And so when you said that no toilet paper, the lights go out, she made a face because it's the Sabbath, Friday night, everything goes out.
Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy.
To keep it holy. And then they call people who go to church on Sunday, Sunday keepers.
That's exactly
right. I just hit you in your center, right? You just
can we make a pilot about Pathfinders? Like, can we do that? Because I really think people need to understand, like, all vegetarian,
I wasn't allowed to wear pants, jewelry, makeup.
That's right. No nail polish, no red. Yeah.
That's and it. They didn't even get married with rings. They got married with watches because it's a utility. It's
no makeup.
No makeup. We breaking all the rules.
I'm telling you, I remember when my grandmother had died and one of her deaconess sisters, we did the body, we had a little hair done and little stuff. And first of all, that funeral was a mess because the way I decided I was going to wear false nails, I don't know why. I was just like, my nails are messed up. Let me go to Sally's and get some stuff. And I'm in here trying to say bye, grandma, and, do my, farewell. One of the nails falls in the coffin. Oh. There's a whole line behind me. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I don't want to be buried with this Sally's nail. That's disrespectful. So I'm in here like trying to, I miss you, trying to search. Can't find that nail. So she's buried with that nail now. Rest in peace. Wow. Her deaconess sister was like, did the speech. She's like, we will miss Aunt Dar. The only thing I wish is that she didn't have makeup on her face now. Because I don't know if God will accept her.
They're so judgmental.
At the funeral, sis.
Yes.
Is it that deep?
Yeah.
And it was a natural beat, too. She just had a little mascara and lip gloss. It wasn't even that deep. I was like,
it's bad. I went to church with my daughter to visit. Yeah. And my daughter had some earrings. Yes, right. And they kept looking at her. The pastor changed the sermon to address the congregation for how they were behaving because it was egregious. Like,
oh, wow.
And my daughter's like, I don't ever want to go to a church. And she was little. She wasn't like 2. She was maybe about 6 or 7. But the earrings just threw everybody.
Oh, yeah. The earring, it's a thing. But you know what? I had so much fun at church, even though I was there all the time. Because the Seventh Day Adventist church that my grandma went to, it was like 99% Caribbean.
Yeah.
And so it was like my cousins were there and we were playing, sports and stuff and doing all kinds of stuff. They would have like the food and all the aunties would be cooking. And we
the
have
wheat bread with the butter and the postum coffee.
Yes, that's it. Oh my gosh. We need to do this pilot. Let me find out.
People don't know. And what Jewish people can relate to Seventh Day Adventists. They are the ones the closest to Jews.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Girl, it was traumatic.
Yeah, it was, it was in Vacation Bible School. Oh. Like all summer. Yes. All summer. I don't think I remember any of the tales.
No.
You know? But like I don't remember any of it, but we just had a ball. We really did. And like, there were some moments of trauma, obviously, I think, especially at church. But being with my cousins and being able to like hang out with them and play basketball and soccer and being with all these Caribbeans, it was a time.
Yeah, it's a lot of Caribbean people. Just thinking that putting a little lipstick on was a revolutionary act. You were like, and people truly out there doing.
It's really wild. My grandmother, I'm telling you, we used to call her drill sergeant. This woman couldn't be any taller than 5 feet, and just very like instilled fear in like 6 foot tall men, like in fear. And
Jamaican too?
Jamaican. It was nuts. God. And she walked everywhere. She never drove. And I remember Like when Jehovah's Witness would come knock on the door and say, hey, we want to learn about Watchtower, she would actually invite them in to try to convert them to Seventh Day Adventist.
It's like a battle of
I was like, what's going on? I was like, can we just have a regular Thursday here, y'all? Can we just relax? But yeah, she was serious.
It was sex on sect. They were like, hey.
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, like, it was wild. And like her views on like sex. And I remember I was going through puberty. Oh my gosh. And she was like, if you ever have sex, I'm going to leave you in a dark wood. I'm going to take a taxi and I'm going to leave you in that wood. Yep. And I was like, and what happens? What am I about to do in the woods? She was like, I won't know because you will have no family there.
Yeah.
The instilling the fear.
The worst sex education talks came from Seventh Day Adventist parents or elders. It was like
fear.
And walking around with that misinformation and the fear is not a good combination when there's a basketball team nearby.
I mean, there are just so many things that I wish I knew about sex because I truly was confused. I remember the first time I had sex with my husband, and this is the first white person I ever had sex with, and I literally was like, so, okay, before we do this, how does this work with you? How's this work with y'all? Like, I don't know if this is a different kind of beat, like, what are we about to be doing here? Like, and he was like, girl, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't know. Is it different? I'm not educated on this now. He was like, just lay down. Nuts.
Oh, she said husband. Like, I'm like, what'd that be like? No.
I'm telling you, no, truly. There's so much stuff going on. I'm telling you, the dating apps are all different now.
I'm not on them.
I think when we first were dating, the only app out was OkCupid. That was the big thing.
I remember being on OkCupid.
And then there was like all those other things, but like it was just kind of word of mouth of like, is he cool? Is he cool?
Yeah.
Cool, great. Let's go on a date. We're going to Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. Wow.
I want to go back to that though.
Me
because
too.
The internet scares me. Like, so
it's nuts. Rashida has this joke where she was on some app and this man came in the Scream mask, on the profile picture. And I was like, is that what's happening?
There's craziness out there. People are dressing up like clowns. It's a whole bunch of stuff happening on the, I have disengaged. All of it is deleted. Wow. So I have a question for you.
I'm ready.
Has there been a moment you can think of where you wish you would have said something and you didn't?
You know what? There's two moments that are popping up in my mind. The first one is I wish I could have told my father I loved him before he died because we had got into a massive argument. He was supposed to be my sweet 16 birthday, and my parents, they were divorced, and, he was running ragged. And I had lost a bunch of weight for that sweet 16. My mom, when I was younger, put me on a lot of diets. Like any diet you can think of, I have done the Bible diet where the lady was like, pray the food away. I have done, I was doing Weight Watchers before, Oprah like bread. You know what I mean? Like it was just, we did diet after diet. And so this was the first time all the weight had came off. I was about 100 and maybe 30 pounds. I was very, very small. And it was kind of like a celebration of the weight loss, but also a celebration of me coming into my 16 teenage years and things like that. And so it was a big deal. And he wasn't able to make it. And I remember at my final weigh-in, he called me and was like, it's not going to happen. And I did not speak to him. I was so upset. My uncle had to come kind of fill in for him in his place for the party and stuff. And my mom was like, do you remember Barbizon, the modeling?
I went to Barbizon.
Do you remember Barbizon?
I went to Barbizon.
So my mom was trying to get me into Barbizon for the summer, and I'll never forget. And so we were waiting to see if the agents wanted me or not. And he had called, and I looked at the phone, and my mom said, well, just call him back tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, sure, fine. And the next day he passed away. Oh. The next day he passed, Memorial Weekend. And so I wish I could have had that moment again. The second moment is a career thing that has happened where one of my first big jobs, I was having the time of my life on set. And this older
Okay.
fellow was just making like jokes. And I was like, I was like, sometimes it gets tricky because I'm like, where are these jokes about to go? And he was walking me back to my trailer and he was quoting some woman on YouTube that was a cook. And he just kept saying the N-word. Because he's like repeating what she's saying. And for me, I was like, this is my first big job. I'm trying to move my mother to Los Angeles. I don't know how to navigate this. And clearly this man has some sort of seniority in the fact that everyone had worked with him prior and he has a big legacy there. And I remember calling my manager, who's Filipino. I said, listen, this white man keeps saying that. You know what I mean? I was like, he's not saying it directly to me, but he's repeating this woman and what she's saying. I said, I don't know how I feel about that. It feels kind of disrespectful. Should I say anything to him? And he said, listen, you could do this two ways. He's like, you could say something to him and these white people, you will never work again. And he was like, that's just the state of diversity at that time. And he said, or you could do a tell-all book when you get really famous and talk about it. The book. He's like, you will get your revenge on this situation. He's like, but right now you're too early in your career to make waves. And a part of me was like, because the Danielle that's from Jersey would have went in on him. But in the professional circumstances, I was like, I don't know how, as a young Black woman at that time, how to navigate this. And also knowing that all of the executive producers, these are his friends. All the creators, these are his friends. And if I do say something, that can then turn into a game of telephone. And the things that I want to say of like, hey, this is disrespectful, can now turn into Danielle is bitch. You know what I mean? Danielle is difficult to work with. Danielle is this, even though he was the one that was doing the wrongdoing. And so I wish I could have said something.
What would you have said?
Stop saying that daggone word.
Yeah.
You're disrespectful. Stop it. You don't get the right to say that word. And because you have a little Southern accent, it's really triggering me right now, too. Like, I feel like I've been 12 years a slave right now. Cut it out. Be professional. We on set right now. Why do you have the audacity to tell another Black woman this and think that you could jokey joke and use that word as an older white man? Or as a white person in general? Just let it go. Stop it.
There you go. She said
That's
it. You let it out.
That's it.
You don't need to write a book.
Well, I am writing one.
No. Oh, sure.
I am writing one, but
now you got something better to write about.
Yeah.
But I feel that. I understand.
Gosh.
And you know that we feel the onus that we have to be responsible for our entire ethnic group. It's a heavy. Because you feel like you're betraying the culture. It's not just like. Also, you're offending me, but I also feel like you're a sellout for not saying anything.
Yes,
and at the same time, you still have to. You have to secure your livelihood.
Yes,
right?
because I'm like, that job was the job that allowed me to move my mother to Los Angeles. You know what I mean? And so I needed that job, and I needed the coins at that time. But the thing is, what I learned from that is I started to watch how other actresses, especially actresses of color and Black actresses, how they advocate for themselves on set. And so that watching them became a little rehearsal for me for when the time came for me to be a series regular. And I remember when I first booked Ghost, I was like, gosh, I don't want to be labeled as difficult. I don't want to be labeled as this, but I need a Black person to do my hair. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
that's very
if we're going to be overseas for 8 months, I don't want to come there with hair and then leave fully bald-headed. Like, I need to make sure that this thing is together. And I remember talking to Akarsh and Bukar, who's our co-lead on the show, and he said, do you want me to talk to somebody for you? And he's like, listen, I'm a South Asian man and I'm number 2 on the call sheet. Do you want me to advocate for you? And I said, you know what? I think I need to learn how to do this for myself.
Oh, that's good to hear that he would, though. I love him.
He's the best. He really is. And so I went to the showrunners and it was like so dramatic. They was on Zoom. They were like, so what's going on? What's happening? I was like, is it possible for me to have a Black stylist on set? I just need someone that knows how to do cornrows, that knows how to deal with these wigs, that knows how to oil my scalp. So, I don't end up with like traction alopecia and all kinds of things. I was like, I really need to make sure in this 8-month span that I leave with all my hair follicles. And they were like, sure. And that was it.
You a series regular, baby.
But sometimes it don't happen like that.
I know.
You know? And so I'm grateful for them. I really am. I really am.
Me too. And for you using your words, somebody behind you now
Yes.
will be able to do it easier,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So this segment is called Should Have Kept That, right?
Okay.
I share a story with you, and I'll tell you what somebody said, and you tell me if they should have kept it or should have said it.
Okay.
My cousin has been secretly in love with a friend of mine from work. I work at Jiffy Lube. She comes in to get an oil change even when she doesn't need one so that she can see him. The last time she came in, she was being absolutely ridiculous and tried to hit on my friend aggressively. I told her to stop wasting her time because he was batting for the other team.
Oh.
His face got pale when he heard what I said. I know it's the truth, but maybe not my truth to tell. He's not out of the closet yet. Should I have kept it?
Kept his secret, essentially.
He should have.
Yeah, that's not hers to share.
Mm-hmm.
That's not hers to share. Yeah.
Should have kept it.
For sure.
Okay, I think so too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's dangerous now.
That is.
It could be hurtful to somebody.
Yes.
People now they walk up to me who watch the podcast and tell me they should have kept it. Let me tell you this story.
I'm telling you.
I did.
I'm telling you. Yeah, no, should have kept that for sure.
All right, so now we want to get to know you a little better. Okay. This is called Say It With Your Chest. This is my lightning round. Smash or pass, Dave and Buster's for a first date.
At this age, pass.
Would you rather Thanksgiving or Halloween?
Thanksgiving.
Same. How old were you when you had your first oyster?
Listen. It must have been like in my 30s.
Yeah.
It's late.
Oh,
it was late. It was late. And I actually think it was maybe like 2 years ago with Devin Long, who plays the Viking on Ghost. He's like, Danny, because he's a Viking for real. Like, I don't think a lot of people.
Is he?
No, like, that's him.
He's so
like,
fun.
Danny, you got to try these steaks. And I'm like, Devin, that's fine. I'll try. You don't have to be screaming at me about it. And it was good.
It was delicious.
It was really good.
I've been eating oysters for a long time. Fight or flight, 3 miniature donkeys.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
You
Flight. I'm terrified.
Everybody leaves.
Absolutely.
They're little donkeys.
No,
though.
terrified. Those they have the most energy.
I know.
Are you kidding? No way. I'm out.
I love it. If you could say anything to your favorite teacher, what would it be?
Oh, my favorite teacher. She's no longer with us. Her name is Mrs. Turk. She lost a battle to cancer, and she was the first person in my life that when she said I was beautiful, I actually believed it. She was my English teacher, and writing is actually my first love, before acting. Okay. And I would just tell her, thank you for inspiring a generation of kids and really teaching us beyond English the importance of self-love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So in addition to Ghost, what else is going on in your world?
Oh my gosh. I'm writing my book right now.
Congratulations.
Which is really exciting. I'm doing it myself, which is really difficult because I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a ghostwriter. And they were like, no, you could do it. And I was like, ah. Yeah. So I'm writing my book. It's tentatively called I Think I Might Be Famous. Kind of exploring what fame has meant to me and my family in these last couple of years, but also when I was born, because I don't think a lot of people know when I came into the world, my mother passed away for a few minutes. And it's like in New England's, medicine journal and all that stuff, like she had a very, very difficult pregnancy. And when I was younger, I got diagnosed with a very rare disease called dermatomyositis, which I'm completely cured from, but I was a case study. Okay. And so that brought me fame as a kid as well, too. Okay. And so lots of doctor's visits and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm special. Okay, you know what I mean? And so my journey with fame, not only just with television, but also in my life as well, too. And so I'm excited for people to read it. And yeah. I'm
going to read it.
Yeah.
I remember procrastinating. I have ADHD. And so I remember staying up like 24 hours writing when I was writing my book.
Yes.
And I just remember thinking to myself, I should have got the damn ghostwriter. I was like,
no, I'm telling you.
Them 80,000 words add up.
It's nuts.
Yes.
And then also like when you meet someone and you're like, oh, I gotta put that in the book.
Yeah.
Or like a memory trigger or something. You're like, oh, I forgot to put that. I forgot to add that. It's so much. But I have a fantastic editor, which has been great.
That's great.
And so yeah, that's been awesome. And we're going to the finale of Ghosts soon, which is really exciting. I have a massive moment that I won't share too much about.
Don't.
But it's really big for me, not only the character of Alberta, but for me as an actor. And so I'm really excited for people to see it. And it includes all of the ghosts in the universe thus far.
Yeah.
That's what I will tease.
The one thing I love about Alberta the most is that she feels so real. Like, not that there is a talking white or talking black.
Yeah.
That the colloquialisms go across the span from wherever you come from. If you're, but I love that Alberta is always like, it's like, they're like up here in the Victorian days. And she's like, that sounds silly. Like, it just feels so, she's always so grounded. And she brings the whole room back to reality. And that's like, I love that character.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do. I watch it because, I just love the story. I just started watching it one day, and then my daughter walked out the room, and she came back, and I was on episode 6.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was like, okay, look. And then I haven't stopped.
The thing about that show that is so special to me is that, first of all, I just have to just give myself a little shout out. I just won an NAACP Image Award for the role of Alberta in Ghost. But also, first of all, that award changed my entire life because I've wanted that since I was a kid. And to finally get it, I was like, yes.
Damn Jamaicans coming and taking everything.
and that I've heard that one before. Come on, y'all. Come on. But the thing that I'm really excited about with Ghosts and that keeps me really inspired by that show is what are our ancestors doing in the afterlife?
Yes.
Right? And I think with Alberta specifically, there's an episode that we just saw with her and her descendant that's played by Ashley Kelly, who's incredible. And you think that, we revere our ancestors and they're guiding us and, we put so much pressure on them. But what if they were a hot mess?
Yeah.
And how are they actually going to guide us for real? And now it's made me think that some of my missteps in life may be due to my grandmother or it may be due to my dad where it's like, oops, my bad. I didn't realize that was going to do this. And so it's made me really take in, what the afterlife actually could look like. Because what if it is a bunch of people that are just quarantined together?
It's hilarious.
And how do we really, navigate that? Like when I pass away, like what am I actually going to say to Abraham Lincoln when I see him at, Heaven's Pub? Like what are we really about to be talking? What are we really about to be talking about? And is it like Luther Vandross doing concerts every weekend? Like what does that afterlife really?
That's what the show makes you think about. That's what the show makes you think about.
It really does. And as someone who has always been petrified of death, this show has really helped me remedy that feeling. It really has in many, many ways of the potentials of what it could look like. And so I love that it's fun for the whole family. I love that you're watching it. I love that our fans are watching it and that it's, garnering the success. It really is great.
When Flower was gone, I was mad. But you were like, don't be mad.
I was like, she's coming back.
You'll be all right. I was pissed. I was like...
And that's my girl too,
I don't need Ghosts to be Game of Thrones.
I'm telling you.
I do not. I need my characters to stay. I need some stability. I didn't have it as a child. Do not take away my characters on this show.
Sheila Carrasco is incredible. Even in tonight's episode, she wasn't featured in this episode, but she was shadowing as a director. And so I'm hoping that, as the season continues, we were just picked up for season 5 and 6.
Congratulations.
Which is really exciting.
Man, people can't get
I'm telling you,
picked up for another episode and y'all getting picked up for other seasons.
It's nuts. This job security, I'm like, thank you, God. Yeah. But I'm hoping that with these 2 episode pickups that we are able to get behind the camera. Rose McIver did it this season. It was fantastic that we were able to write episodes as well too and collaborate with our incredible writers on the show. And so who knows what the future holds.
Y'all
for
call
us.
her Rose, we call her our princess.
Yeah.
She and I spent a lot of time on Netflix.
Really? I love Rose McIver so much. When you talk about studying somebody and learning how to truly advocate for yourself, she is the prime example.
Oh, that's good to hear.
That woman is everything. She's the best number one we could ever ask for. Kind to everybody, cast, crew, and everybody in between. The other thing about Rose is she has the best memory on the planet. You could tell her one thing and she will know your whole family tree. Like I'll be in past, like, oh yeah, my Uncle Dennis did this. She'd be like, how's Dennis? What's going on? She's just incredible. She really is.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Hi, friends. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and X at Body Courage. And yeah, come say hi to me. I'll say hi back.
It's one of the best pages I follow that keeps me laughing. Like I said, that adolescence camera person video was like, because it took me right back, and I was like, I was on edge the whole time.
Shooting that almost took me out. I fell into my rose garden trying to do that thing, and it was filled with mulch. So thank you for laughing.
Did you hear the rose garden flex?
I'm trying. Listen, it's not that many roses. Be clear, it's just like maybe 4 or 5, but I'm hyped about it.
You got it though. So thank you for being here. I
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time on Say What You Mean. We want to invite you to follow us on social media at SWYM Pod on all social media platforms. If you are listening, please hit the subscribe button if you're on Spotify or Apple. If you are watching, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to give us your rating and your review. And we will see you next time on Say What You Mean.